What makes the original Alien such a good movie, and Alien Covenant so bad? The two stories share a number of similarities, but Alien tends to do things in a good way while Covenant just makes them frustrating. I'm going to be nitpicking Alien Covenant, but let me first say that I'm not trying to claim or imply that it's an objectively bad movie. In my opinion, it just has a lot of lazy writing, which makes it bad to me. In media, an idiot plot is a story which is kept in motion solely by virtue of the fact that everyone involved is an idiot. In other words, the story wouldn't happen if all of the characters didn't act like morons. Sadly, Covenant is basically an idiot plot. Here's a quick refresher on the inciting incidents of Alien and Alien Covenant, where we can see similarities right from the start, but also how differently the logic in each story works. In Alien, a mysterious signal is detected by the computer overseeing the Nostromo, causing the crew to be awoken from hypersleep. They're then instructed to investigate the signal, and failing to do so would result in them not getting paid, or as Ash says, complete forfeiture of shares, no money. This is an important distinction. They didn't choose to go on this mission, they were told to do so or face repercussions. Covenant, on the other hand, has a very similar plot with much worse logic. First, the unbelievably far-fetched. The crew of the Covenant is in hypersleep when their ship drops out of FTL to recharge, just as the blast wave from a nearby stellar ignition happens to be approaching. The Covenant is damaged and the crew awaken to manage the emergency. It's just pure movie plot dumb luck that they happen to be right there just in time to get smashed. While working on repairs outside of the ship, Tennessee intercepts a rogue transmission because he just happens to be far enough away from the ship to avoid its communication buffers, while the ship just happens to be within range of the signal to detect it. The signal is determined to be a woman singing "Take Me Home, Country Roads" by John Denver.
That's "Take Me Home, Country Roads."
Gotta be kidding.
Oh, no, I never kid about John Denver.
So the odds of random events just happening to occur when you're nearby are laughably unlikely. We're already stacking unbelievably improbable events on top of unbelievably improbable events. Because the crew doesn't want to go back into hypersleep due to the death of their captain in his hypersleep tube, the newly promoted captain decides to take his colony ship with over 2,000 colonists off course to investigate the source of the signal, because this new planet might be a good place to set up the colony. I cannot put into words how off the charts insane that is. Any action you take that is off mission risks the lives of the colonists that you were entrusted to protect. You can't just elect to settle a different planet after years of planning and billions of dollars went into funding this mission. Danny even points out that they scanned, mapped, and trained specifically for the original planet, Origai 6. There's no way that would fly. For all you know, Weyland-Yutani has since found this planet and another colony has already been lined up for it. You'll also notice that unlike Alien, no one is quoting regulations about investigating mysterious signals. Oram just decides to go off books and risk the lives of everyone on board to generate some goodwill with his crew because he believes they don't trust him. The combination of improbable events along with absurd decision making is setting Covenant distantly apart from Alien. Back on LV-426, Kane manages to put his face into an alien egg and get face-hugged. That was a really dumb choice on his part. As the crew attempt to bring him back on board, Ripley cautiously and smartly refuses to let them in, pointing out that doing so could kill everyone. Here's another important distinction: Ripley doesn't just give in, she acts intelligently. Ash overrides the door lock and allows the crew and an alien organism on board. Though we don't know it yet, Ash is actively working against everyone. He wants the alien on board because that's his mission. This was a great way to avoid having all the characters make bad decisions to keep the plot moving forward. Again, Covenant fails in this regard. After Captain Oram decides to investigate Planet 4, Danny makes an official objection, reminding him that they have thousands of colonists to worry about. Credit where it's due, she was 100% correct. The captain is making an awful decision and risking the lives of his crew and the colonists. She should have fought him harder on this. Instead, she voices her opinion and gives in. So naturally, when they land on the planet, they don't wear any protective gear whatsoever. There are a couple of brief lines where Rix mentions that tox screens are negative and Mother reports on composition of the atmosphere, but neither of those sound like they're specifically checking for hazardous organisms. In context, it sounds like they're looking for giant clouds of ammonia or things of that nature. Or even if they were scanning for dangerous plants or animals, they clearly failed, which is exactly why you should have worn protection in the first place. Luckily, they brought guns, so if they happen to run into any dangerous microscopic organisms, they can shoot them. The fact that they brought guns also seems to indicate that they can't specifically scan for certain things like dangerous plants or hostile animals. If they could, they would know whether or not they need the weapons. Tom just straight up sticks his face into an alien plant and gets infected. I mean, there's not much to say about that. Don't sniff alien flowers, I guess. This is one of the many similar plot points shared with Alien. This part may be a little nitpicky since Ferris is a pilot and not a doctor, but she is clearly aware that Ledward is infected and possibly contagious. She makes several comments about not touching things, tells Karine to put on gloves, and says to Tennessee that she doesn't know what Ledward got or if she or Karine have it either. After sealing the medical bay, she says she has to keep the infection localized. She knows there is a danger of contagion, but then she comes back with a shotgun to kill the neomorph. Now, I don't have any issues with trying to kill a dangerous alien, but its presence doesn't change the fact that there may very well still be an active contagion. The alien had to come from somewhere. By opening the door, she's further exposing herself to possible infection, as well as possibly letting the alien loose if anything happens to go wrong. Like, I don't know, she slips and falls in blood, shoots the ceiling, and shows the alien where the door is. In the same scene, Karine gets a knife and refuses to use it. I actually had to watch this in slow motion because it's so hard to tell what's going on. The alien wraps his tail around her wrist a couple of times, which prevents her from using the knife. However, it doesn't hold her arm the entire time. Even when it lets go, she doesn't stab it. She just stubbornly holds the knife further away than the creature attacking her. I'm not going to blame the character or the actor for this. The scene was just poorly directed and edited. They went through the trouble of having Karine kick the shit out of the alien to start with, but couldn't have the knife knocked out of her hand or even let her wound the alien superficially. It's just lazy. When I first saw Covenant in theaters, there was something that didn't sit right with me. Something felt wrong and I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. It just felt off. After seeing it a second time, I realized what the issue was. The alien was no longer the primary antagonist of the series, which in my opinion, and in keeping with the religious undertones of the film, is blasphemy. The entire series tends to have fairly uneven character development, though when they do give characters depth and the opportunity to grow, it shines. David is a really interesting character, and while I'm not a big fan of Prometheus, I love the nuance that Michael Fassbender gave to David that hinted at his true nature. The problem is that they've taken the focus off the alien and made the story about David. It's become his story of revenge and his search for perfection. It also commits the cardinal sin of killing one of the main characters off-screen between films. Just like the deaths of Newt and Hicks between Aliens and Alien 3, which I still have not forgiven, Shaw is killed between Prometheus and Covenant. This is such a bizarre twist, given that there is a short prologue to Covenant briefly showing David and Shaw on the journey from LV-223 to the Engineer world. Though initially distrustful, they seem to create a bond. Early versions of the Prometheus 2 script showed David turning on Shaw, causing her to hide from him, but it's clear that her character was originally featured prominently in the movie. Killing characters between films seems like a really cheap and lazy way to retcon the story. I can't claim that I've ever written a movie, but I do believe that just about any situation can be resolved in an interesting and entertaining way with good screenwriting. As a writer, you are the god of this universe. You're literally creating the world and the characters in it. You have the power and ability to resolve questions and problems in ways that don't have to be lazy. At least let us see the characters die. Show us that the stakes are real. Movie effects and imagery have advanced so much technologically between Alien and Covenant, and it really kills me that Prometheus and Covenant are so gorgeous visually, but fail in so many other aspects. The vistas, scenery, and technology look amazing, but the stories just don't do them justice. In Prometheus, two characters stuck outside the ship are told that there may be something alive nearby. They immediately head away from that location, but when they run into an alien organism later, one of them, who is a biologist, reaches out and touches it. It's an alien. What sense does that make? But to be fair, it does look pretty. Covenant makes some really spectacular use of lighting and color. The lasers from the rifles really pop in the dark and look awesome. While some areas are filled by dim light, others seem to just suck the light out of the air and the periphery becomes an inky blackness. It looks really cool. On board the Covenant, there are bright lights, along with the cool blues of computers on the bridge. Oranges and soft greens provide a splash of color from the displays on the lander. On the planet, the color tone is much more muted, with browns and grays on the mountains to the deep greenery of the forest. It looks like a pristine, untouched wilderness, and in both cases, the colors are really impressive. Now, you can watch a movie one of two ways. Either just sit back and enjoy it and accept it for what it is, or analyze it and critique it. I don't want to nitpick every little detail in a movie, but that depends on how well the movie is written and directed. If there are too many inconsistencies, it breaks my immersion like a CD skipping when it's scratched, if any of you remember those days. Alien isn't a perfect movie. I could complain about Kane sticking his face in front of a strange alien egg, or roll my eyes when they tell Brett to go off on his own, but there are enough good decisions to offset the bad ones. That's what helps ground the situation and make the character seem real. In a stressful situation, it's understandable that not everyone is going to make the best possible decisions at all times. People make mistakes or act from places of fear or emotion, and that's okay. But it can't be everyone all the time. It's also okay to be critical of movies, and I would encourage you to do so. You don't have to hate every single element of a film, but you are being sold a product. You paid for a ticket to the theater or a subscription to a streaming service. Most of you did. I know some of you pirate everything. And you deserve to get your money's worth. What you think that is entirely up to you, but you deserve the best product a production company can make, and a lot of the times what we get falls short of that. And that, ultimately, is what makes Covenant so bad compared to the original Alien. It hits a lot of the same beats, it just does so poorly. Whether you love the movie or hate it, let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.